Life Audio.
Hello. Thank you for listening to Your Daily Bible Verse, the podcast that examines one verse each day to learn more about God and His will for our lives. I'm your host, Kyle Norman. After a brief message from one of our sponsors, we will read today's Bible verse.
Hey everybody, I'm Dale.
And I'm Tamara.
And we're hosts of the Kinos Project podcast,
where we help you tackle ancient Christian truths in everyday settings.
The word kainos means new, and that's exactly what we want to do on our podcast. Bring something new from what is old in our faith.
And on this show, you might hear us explore topics like what the Bible has to say about student loan forgiveness, discuss how the Satanic Temple affects our view of religious liberty in America, or even question why is it that so many people are having rapture anxiety.
To learn more about the podcast, go to lifeaudio.com.
The Historical Jesus Podcast is the sweeping saga of the life and times of Galilean Jesus of Nazareth, as well as the faith, religion, and church founded to honor and disseminate his acts and teachings. Join me, Mark Vinette, on this fascinating journey through time, exploring the many great works of Christian theology, literature, architecture, music, and art inspired by the words and deeds of Jesus Christ.
Today's verse can be found in Matthew chapter 22, verse 9. Go therefore to the main roads and invite to the wedding feast as many as you can find. In my 20-plus years of ordination, I have experienced the full range of nuptial occurrences. Let me tell you, there have been some doozies. I've witnessed wedding rings accidentally dropped in the mud, and wedding cakes not so accidentally thrown into the garbage. I've seen impromptu lightning storms in the middle of an open-air service, and ceremonies where the couple was unsure if anyone would arrive. Every wedding is different, and in every wedding, things go unplanned or unexpected. Jesus tells a story about a wedding where things do not go as planned. A king sends invitation to his subjects to attend the wedding of his son. As Jesus tells it, the king learns that no one is going to attend this celebration. Some go to their field, some attend to the busyness of their lives, and some act aggressively, even violently, toward the subjects bearing the king's invitation. In response to this utter rejection, the king sends his servants out to the roadways to encourage all that they can find to enter the king's house and enjoy this celebration. To understand this story, we need to know the historical context in which this parable takes place. Jesus stands in the courts of the temple, having a debate with the chief priests and the Pharisees. These are people who knew well the scriptures, and so they knew that the day of the Messiah was often imaged as a wedding banquet. So when Jesus says, "The kingdom of heaven is like a king who prepared a wedding feast," they would have understood immediately that Jesus is speaking about the presence of the Messiah. Jesus is talking about an invitation to participate in the messianic celebration. And this invitation is an act of grace. God's calling goes out to every person. No one is excluded. The presence of the Messiah, the Son of the King, is so special, so important, that any classification of deserve or merit is completely tossed aside. All are welcome and invited to enjoy his presence. Importantly, every person in this parable receives a grace-filled, welcome, and open invitation to participate in the kingdom. No one lands outside this invitation. And so in this way, Jesus is describing how God's loving mercy flows to all people And this means that in your life today, regardless of who you are, regardless of what has gone on in your life, or where you might spiritually find yourself in this moment, Jesus invites you to experience the good things of his presence. Now, just like any invitation, whether it be for a birthday party, an anniversary celebration, or a wedding feast, it is important to respond to Jesus' invitation to new life. Imagine for a second that in the mail you receive a golden envelope printed with a gilded lettering and affixed with a presidential seal. You open the envelope, and in it is a card that reads, "My dearest friend, you are cordially invited to participate in the celebration of my child's wedding. Your presence at the celebration would be a great gift to me. I look forward to seeing you. Kindly, the President." Now, do you think you would look at this invitation and say, "Well, shoot, there's a hockey game on that night"? Would you deny the invitation for the sake of work demands or other social engagements? Would you crumple the invitation and just toss it to the side because you simply didn't want her to go out that evening? No. Some invitations take precedence over everything else. Some invitations are too important, too valuable, too life-giving to reject. In Jesus' day, speaking to his audience, the Messianic wedding would be a celebration with unparalleled importance and urgency. And so a rejection of this invitation is the height of offense, one deeply felt by the Lord, because God reaches out to us so lavishly, so passionately, so longingly. God feels deeply the sting of rejection. The parable of the wedding feast shows us that the way we respond to Christ's invitation matters. While Jesus is abounding in love and grace, he will not force us into a relationship that we do not accept. Jesus will never coerce us into the kingdom. In his selfless love, he will abide our bold, sometimes offensive rejections. And yet his heart is displayed for all to see. He desires that his house be filled. He desires us to know his love and experience his goodness. He longs for us to accept the invitation to new life and experience his bounty and his blessing. And so his invitation goes out again and again and again, and all are invited to accept it. What does it mean for you to respond to Jesus' invitation of grace in your life? What does it mean for you to say yes to this amazing invitation to experience the presence of Jesus? Because that's the whole point of the parable. And that's his calling in our lives. This invitation to experience life in the love and blessing of Jesus is far too good to ignore.
Your Daily Bible Verse is a production of Life Audio and Salem Media. If you liked what you heard today, please take a second to rate and review this podcast in your favorite podcast app so that more listeners like you can find the show. For more faith-filled, inspirational podcasts, visit us at lifeaudio.com.
This is Perseus Poku, host of the Sound Reasoning Ministry podcast. Learn how to share and defend your faith by listening to us weekly. Subscribe at lifeaudio.com.